faithfully delivering value and exploring great books worldwide.
Hello, this is Sally's Book Talk.
Today, we're interpreting the book The Lost Martial Arts World for you. Many of you have probably seen Wong Kar-wai's film The Grandmaster, where Xingyi Quan, Bagua, and Taiji each showcase their strengths with thrilling fight scenes. Beyond the fight scenes, there's a plot where Ma San, skilled in Xingyi Quan, travels south with his master, fights 5 Southerners, and is told by his master to immediately return north, which he does. Later, Ma San becomes an official, sides with the Japanese, is expelled from his school by his master, leading to a feud in the martial arts world. Why was Ma San expelled from his school? The film doesn't explicitly explain, but today, the book The Lost Martial Arts World we're discussing can answer that for you. You might not know that the compiler of this book is actually the screenwriter of The Grandmaster. Xu Haofeng, as a wuxia film director and screenwriter, won the Best Screenplay Award at the Hong Kong Film Awards in 2013 for The Grandmaster, and in 2015, his self-written and directed wuxia film, The Master, was nominated for the Best Adapted Screenplay at the Golden Horse Awards. In fact, a significant part of the plots in these two films is taken from the content of the book The Lost Martial Arts World. The narrator of this book is Xu Haofeng's great-uncle Li Jianghu, who studied under 3 renowned Xingyi Quan masters in modern martial arts history in the 1930s, became famous, and was later honored as second master in the martial arts world. At the age of 34, he retired from the martial arts world, and around 2000 published a series of articles in Martial Spirit magazine, providing valuable historical materials and insights on Chinese traditional martial arts, which caused a huge response in martial arts circles, both in China and abroad. These articles were eventually compiled into a book, which is the content of this work. In the book, The Lost Martial Arts World, Li Jiangxuan recounts the northern martial arts world and folk martial arts represented by Xingyi Quan during the Republican era. The Republican era is known as the Golden Age of Chinese martial arts. This is because since the late Qing dynasty, with the chaos in the world and foreign invasions, the ban on martial arts practice became ineffective, and opening martial arts schools to take disciples became a trend. During this period, many masters emerged, making it a splendid time. The book starts with Li Kunye, a Xingye Quan master from the late Qing to early Republican period, who is Li Zhongshuan's Grand Master, ran escort agencies and martial arts schools, and once taught soldiers under Governor Lian Chang of Lianzhong. When the Eight-Nation Alliance advanced on Beijing, he joined the Boxer Rebellion and led his disciples to kill Russian soldiers at Tianjin railway station.
In 1912, with the financial support of Feng Guozhang, Li Kunye founded the Chinese Martial Arts Association, the first large-scale civilian martial arts organization in China.
From then on, martial arts entered a phase of rapid development. In 1927, the national government established the National Martial Arts Research Institute in Nanjing, aiming to strengthen the nation through martial arts. The following year, it was renamed the Central Martial Arts Institute, with Goshu signifying martial arts for national defense. Tianjin was the martial arts hub of northern China, home to 23 branches, with Li Kunyi's being the most renowned. Li Kunyi had 3 outstanding disciples: Tong Wei-lu, Shang Yunshan, Shui Dian, and Li Jiangxuan. His first master during his youth was Tang Wei-lu. Tang Wei-lu, from Ninghe, Tianjin, nicknamed Little Monkey Tongue, excelled at wall scaling and could cover 300 to 400 li in a single night. The distance from Tianjin to Beiping, modern Beijing, is over 100 kilometers, which Tom reportedly covered overnight. Li Zhongshuan had become estranged from his father over martial arts training. After Li left Tianjin, Tong felt responsible, and introduced him to his more renowned senior apprentice, Shang Yongshine. Shang from Shandong was known as Iron-Footed Buddha for his brick-shattering kicks. He taught sword techniques to the Northwestern Army, and his methods were closely linked to Sun Wan's big sword unit that achieved victory at Shifangkao in 1933. Later, through both masters' recommendations, Li Zhanshuan became a disciple of Shui Dian, who enjoyed immense prestige in martial arts circles as head of Tianjin Martial Arts Institute. Witnesses described his movements as ghostly swift. During the War of Resistance against Japan, the national crisis deepened. Shu Dian created a new boxing style called Shangxing Shu, imitation art, and taught it beyond traditional circles. Having studied under Li Kunyi's three top disciples, Li Zhengshuan became known as the last witness to Chinese martial arts' final golden age. Through personal recollections, Li Zhengshuan chronicled prominent martial artists like Xingyi masters, using their conduct to depict the Republican-era martial world and its underlying spirit. Next, I'll interpret the book's core content through three aspects: Xingyi Quan's characteristics, martial arts protocols, and the traditional values embedded in these rules. First, Xingyi Quan's traits. Along with Taiji and Bagua, it's one of the three major internal martial arts. In 2011, it was inscribed on China's National Intangible Cultural Heritage List by the State Council. During the Republican era, Xingyi Quan was the most representative northern Chinese martial art. Its origins are debated. Some credit Bodhidharma, others General Yue Fei, while most attributed to Jijike from Shanxi during the early Qin dynasty. Legend has it that Jijik visited a renowned master in Jiangnan Mountain, obtained Yue Fei's boxing manual, and created Six Harmonies boxing based on it, becoming the progenitor of Xingyi Quan. Disciples of Xingyi Quan were primarily active in Shanxi and Hebei regions. As Xingyi Quan developed, many branches emerged. Li Kunyi's lineage particularly emphasized leg techniques developed through stance training. Li Zhengshuan explained, stance training requires insect-like endurance. Like insects hibernating underground in winter, appearing lifeless, yet retaining vitality, then stirring to life. For example, Tang Wailu's stance practice involved inducing subtle full-body tremors. Shui Dian's stance method required the lower abdomen to expand slowly and heavily, then contract equally slowly, thereby mobilizing the entire body. Essentially, stance methods are dynamic, not for attack but slow cultivation. The most renowned stance in Xingyi Quan is the Hunyan stance. The key is using eye focus, gaze slightly upward, like someone exhausted after climbing a mountain peak, finding instant relief when looking into the distance. This embodies Hunyuan stance's principle. Shu Dian considered two benchmarks of mastery: maintaining a stance for 2 hours and placing hands on a chest-high pole to lift both feet without exertion. Xingyi Quan's leg power is also cultivated through walking. The Xing in Xingyi Quan also signifies walking. Practitioners walked 10 li each morning with hands behind their back, moving while walking. Xingyi's fundamental techniques are the 5 elements fists: splitting, crushing, drilling, pounding, and crossing. They're named according to China's 5 elements theory. Focusing on crossing fist, called the mother of 5 elements fists, it corresponds to earth, central and special as it nurtures all things. Similarly, crossing fist can evolve into other techniques like splitting and crushing, making it hardest to master. If interested in the Grandmaster, during the tea house scene, Ip Man's second challenger, Mr. Rui, demonstrates the full 5-element sequence. Xingyi features 12 body methods called 12 forms, modeled after animal movements. These forms constitute refined combat techniques and excellent body training methods. The 12 forms include dragon, tiger, monkey, horse, snake, bear, and others. Li Zhengshuan said that his body technique for the crossing fist was the snake form. He recounted that once during a sparring session, he knocked his opponent out instantly using this crossing fist snake technique. Xu Dian excelled at the monkey form. When practicing, he squatted everywhere like a monkey. After training his knees, he could straighten up instantly and strike with lightning speed. And nobody ever knows how much of the greatest text messages could be. It's said that when Xu Dian sparred, he would disappear in a flash upon contact. Opponents couldn't keep track of him because they couldn't see his footwork clearly or find an angle to attack. Beyond imitation, Xingyi Quan also has requirements for mental cultivation, leading to many nuances in practice. For example, one should train in vast, open spaces to foster a broad-minded state. Once the heart is open, any tiny place suffices for practice. Another rule: when starting practice, regardless of date or night, one must face east, a strict requirement, because the sun rises from the east, symbolizing vitality and growth. Li Zhongshuan compared it to an artist sketching freely. Composition and brushstrokes aren't forced but flow from a calm mind, preceding form and imagination. Like the damp breeze before rain, elusive yet present. Similar to the wuxia novel phrase, no sword in hand, but sword in heart. In this book, Li Zhongshuan compares Xingyi Quan with Taiji and Bagua through conversations with Shang Yunshang. Taiji is like feeling for fish, hand in water, moving slowly to sense the fish's position. Once confirmed, use inch power to grasp it. Bagua is like grinding. Besides forward push, there's a downward grinding force. Both forces transform constantly. Xingyi Quan is like catching shrimp in water, light in delivery, heavy in retraction. When striking out, it's light and quick. When withdrawing, bring the force back. We've covered Xingyi Quan's basic meanings and techniques. It appears to have practical combat value. But why do we now see it more as a performance? Li Zhongshuan says it's because Xingyi Quan has distinctions: performance method, training method, and application method. The performance method is martial arts display, a set routine unrelated to combat ability. The training method is true skill taught by masters, not specific moves, but ways to control the body using clever force.
For example, an ordinary person wielding a sword to slash wildly would have sore shoulders and hands within minutes.
But mastering Xingyi Quan, with techniques using joints and elasticity, prevents such problems. From the training method derives the application method, the specific manifestation in actual combat. The application of Xingyi Quan adapts to personal traits, freely utilizing the 5 elements fists and 12 forms. Whatever feels natural, shoulders, hips, or waist can all strike effectively. In reality, some Xingyi masters didn't master all 12 forms. The book offers a metaphor. Mastering training builds gongfu like accumulating wealth. Combat application is like investing, requiring contextual adaptation. Li Zhongshuan noted that during the Republican martial arts peak, masters joined armies where combat effectiveness determined worth. Warlords rejected those without practical skills. Through this, we understand Xingyi's core: imitation for essence, training both body and spirit, energy. Like Zen, one must achieve enlightenment. Once enlightened, execution becomes effortless. Fist follows mental cultivation, hence Xingyi's concept of fist and Zen as one. Thus, Li Kunyi's lineage primarily venerates Bodhidharma, then Yue Fei. Next, we explore the second aspect: authentic martial protocols from Li Zhongshuan's account. First, multiple sects in the martial world. Readers of Jin Young's novels know sects like Shalan, Wudang, Kongtong, and Kunlun. In reality, sect allegiance was equally vital to martial artists. When Shui Dian became Tianjin Martial Arts Institute director, senior masters challenged him to test his worth. But had Shui thought, any outcome could invite endless challenges and trouble. Fellow disciples intervened. Tang Wailu confronted challengers first. Shui Dian's skill dwarfs mine several times over. If you can't defeat me, you'll never beat him. To display dominance, Tang deliberately wore slippers and ended bouts in single moves. Within their shared interest, disciples must uphold sect dignity. For Xing Yi, director Shui Dian was the sect's face, Tong Wailu its inner fabric. In the martial world, the face must remain spotless. If blood was shed, the inner fabric resolved it. Second, strict hierarchy, seniority. Traditional Chinese arts, martial, crosstalk, or opera, prioritize seniority. Li Zhongshuan never took disciples due to his pact with Master Shen Yunsheng. When Tang Wailu introduced 19-year-old Li to Shang Yunsheng, Li was younger than Shang's grand disciples. Shang Yunsheng felt he disrupted the seniority order, making him swear never to take disciples, meaning if seniority was to be messed up, it could only happen in his generation. In his generation, Xingyi men had another rule. After disciples mastered their skills, without the master's permission, they could only teach others in the name of acting on behalf of the master. Additionally, after learning martial arts, one cannot become an official because once entering officialdom, one might abuse power to bully martial artists, tarnishing the sect's reputation. Like Li Zhongshuan, who came from a prominent family, both his paternal and maternal sides were large official families in the Beijing-Tianjin area. His ancestors participated in the Opium War, the 100 Days Reform, and resisted the Eight-Nation Alliance, with two sacrificing their lives for the country. But he gave up the opportunity to become an official to adhere to the martial arts rule forbidding official status. In the film, Ma San was expelled from the sect because he sided with the Japanese and became an official, breaking the sect rules, so naturally he couldn't stay in Xingyi Men. So martial arts rules cannot be broken, otherwise one will be expelled from the sect. The book tells two stories of masters expelling disciples, one where a disciple ambushed Tang Wailu when he was unprepared.
After being easily subdued, he was happy, feeling he had tested the master's true skill.
From then on, Tang Wailu stopped teaching him and expelled him, deeming him unreliable with a probing mindset. The other is a disciple who killed his own son. Tang Wailu felt this violated basic human ethics and morality, so he severed ties with him. Of course, besides protecting the sect's interests, these rules also stem from Master's practical concerns, fearing the scenario where teaching the disciple starves the Master. That is, if the Master teaches all his skills to the disciple, the Master will have no work left. Therefore, choosing disciples must be done cautiously. They must understand filial piety and gratitude. Sects established so many rules to make it easier for masters to screen disciples. Because once a master selects a true successor, he will impart everything. Otherwise, if each generation holds back some skills, the sect will decline. Tang Wailu taught Li Zhongshuan not only boxing techniques, but also internal energy cultivation methods and medical prescriptions for treating external injuries. When Li Zhongshuan met fellow apprentices in other places, just by showing Tang Wailu's unique ointment, they knew he had inherited the master's complete legacy. Society often says master and disciple are like father and son. In Li Zhongshuan's view, this phrase means the master plays a significant role in the disciple's life, leading to the disciple's attachment to the master. When masters in the martial world acknowledge disciples, they'd say, "My essence is now in you," meaning you can represent me in the martial community. In reality, Republican-era martial artists would hide their lineage when unsure of victory in matches, fearing damage to their master's reputation. This contrasts sharply with how many modern practitioners use their masters as social credentials. So how does one formally become a disciple? Li Zhongshuan recalled Xingyi Men's rule. Grand apprenticeship ceremonies required a recommending master. His recommender was a tea house owner close to Tang Wailu. The ceremony altar displayed tablets of Li Kunyi and Li's own master. Liu Kualan even bought a portrait of Bodhidharma from the street, and they all kowtowed to it. Later, when Li sought apprenticeship under Shui Dian, Tong Wailu instructed, just kowtow once to him. In martial protocols, 3 kowtows were ceremonial, but one was grander. 3 used the forehead, while 1 used the crown, striking the ground. The same even killing doesn't demand head to ground refers to this crown-striking kowtow, the martial world's most solemn gesture. Another apprenticeship principle. Masters rarely accepted those switching lineages, fearing ingrained techniques or hidden agendas, like revenge plots. Third, intersect dueling protocols. When martial artists met, the urge to test skills for fame was inevitable. Duels meant dismantling another's reputation to build your own. Similarly, maintaining reputation required accepting all public challenges. By martial code, juniors couldn't challenge seniors. Taboo, but peers could duel. Li Zhongshuan's master Shui Dian once fought senior apprentice Fu Chanrong in a 2-story tavern. During the match, Fu struck Shui with a spinning palm, sending him crashing from the 2nd floor. Defeated, Shui vanished until Li Kunyei's death. He claimed to have studied under an ethereal master, Void Elder Ling Kong, at Mount Wutai, mastering all 12 forms before returning. After his return, Shui Dian became scholarly and courteous. At a martial gathering, he arranged a long bench and weaved through it using monkey form techniques. His movements were so swift and light that no one could track them, stunning the entire audience. Everyone felt his martial skill had undergone a qualitative leap. After the demonstration, Shu Dian publicly challenged Fu Changrong. Fu had to accept this public challenge, otherwise his reputation would suffer. But Fu's friends recognized Shu intended a death match, so they confined Fu and sent someone to Beijing to bring Shang Yunzhang. Through Shang Yunzhang's mediation, the two were separated, ending the conflict. Beyond formal duels, martial artists could also exchange knowledge. In martial lingo called exchanging insights, they'd privately ask, "Got any new techniques lately?" Close martial brothers could send disciples for exchanges. Another method was hand testing, martial artists gauging skill through brief contact. If realizing inferiority, one would quickly say, "I'm late," admitting defeat. Once, Shui Dian immediately told an opponent, "You're late," upon contact, before they understood. Shui touched again, applying slight pressure, making the opponent feel it, and hastily admit, "Yes, I'm late." This method prevented unnecessary casualties. Let's summarize part 2. In authentic martial protocols, sect solidarity is paramount, affecting reputation, honor, and dignity. Seniority forms the core of internal order, manifested through master-disciple relationships. Masters select disciples extremely carefully through various rules to ensure worthy successors. Sects compete through duels for prestige and standing. Respectful martial artists also engage in peaceful exchanges through insight sharing and hand testing. Finally, part 3, the traditional spirit underlying martial protocols. Chinese have always upheld loyalty, righteousness, propriety, wisdom, and integrity, martial artists included. This is what's often called martial virtue for practitioners. The book mentions 5 virtues. First, filial piety, honoring parents, since one unfilial to parents won't honor teachers. Martial practitioners must daily uphold loyalty, righteousness, propriety, wisdom, and integrity. With such inner cultivation, one's mind becomes clear and perceptive. Masters select disciples primarily based on this clarity of character. Those with merciless, glaring eyes won't be accepted, like Tong Wailu, who appeared just a farmer despite his mastery, embodying self-cultivation from the Book of Rites. He taught Li Zhongshuan that human courage and skills are meant to serve the nation. In personal conflicts, one should appear meek and avoid getting entangled in disputes. Nurtured by such traditional culture, the martial artists mentioned in this book often demonstrated high cultivation and profound insight. For example, Li Zhongshuan said Xing Yiquan has a theory: the strong always influence the weak imitate the strong. In martial arts, strength means having your own rhythm and influencing others with it. First, self-cultivation leads to family harmony. For martial artists in a sect, family harmony means properly managing disciples. In Xingyi Quan teaching, masters first instruct disciples in basic mantras and routines. Then they observe practice, understand personalities, and await the best moment for guidance. To Li Zhengxuan, teaching boxing isn't lecturing, it's provoking breakthroughs. When disciples hit plateaus after extensive practice, one master's well-timed provocation sparks sudden enlightenment. This resembles Zen's sudden awakening. The shock method isn't random beating, but precisely timed intervention. Beyond self and family, martial artists naturally aspire to bring peace to the world. Especially during late Qing, early Republic's national crises, strengthen nation and people became martial artists' rallying cry. They advocated martial training for national strength, prioritizing martial arts promotion as patriotism. To defend the homeland, many Republican-era masters became military instructors. For instance, Li Kunyi compiled an assassination manual for training soldiers in bayonet combat. Earlier mentioned Shang Yinsheng taught blade techniques in Song Zhewan's troops. During the anti-Japanese war, Shou Dian worried hands-on teaching was too slow, so he wrote imitation boxing methods. Shi Dian created Shangxing Shu, imitation art. Xinyi practitioners who studied this book often advanced rapidly. Reviewing this section, we clearly sense traditional Chinese values behind martial protocols: loyalty, righteousness, wisdom, integrity, and concepts like self-cultivation, family harmony, and world peace. Influenced by these ideals, martial artists valued reputation, personal cultivation, and national prosperity. On one hand, they believed martial virtue precedes martial skill, ensuring character to maintain sect order and promote its arts. On the other hand, they possessed a strong nationalist consciousness, hoping to rely on martial arts to protect their homeland. It can be said that Chinese martial arts are not just combat skills, but a spiritual culture integrating Confucianism, Buddhism, and Taoism, advocating the balance of strength and softness, internal and external cultivation, beyond the characteristics of Xingyi Quan, beyond martial protocols and the traditional spirit underlying them. Now let's discuss the later years of the book's narrator, Li Zhengxuan, and his three masters. First, in 1937, Shang Yumsheng, once hired by Qing dynasty head eunuch Li Lianying as a guard, passed away at age 73. In 1944, Tang Wailu also died of illness, ending his impoverished life at age 76. A year later, Li Zhengxuan met Shui Dian for the last time in Tianjin. He practiced there for a day. Shu watched but gave no instruction, saying, "Come, let's eat." During the meal, Shu told Li, "My essence is now in you." They never met again thereafter. In 1949, the 34-year-old Li Zhengxuan retired from the martial world, becoming an accountant in Beijing, keeping his promise to Shang Yangsheng by never taking disciples. In 1953, Shui Dian met an unfortunate end after being denounced as a martial arts tyrant. In 2004, Li Zhengxuan also passed away at age 89. During his later years, he worked as a night watchman at an electronics store in Beijing's Xidan district. Reviewing these martial artists' experiences in the book, we witness the gradual decline of the martial world. First, during the Republican era, with the rise of trains, the escort agency industry responsible for long-distance transport began to decline. Martial arts practitioners lost their economic foundation, and many became unwilling to learn. Second, the proliferation of modern firearms further squeezed martial arts' survival space. Since even the strongest boxing couldn't stop bullets, fewer people attended martial arts schools. Finally, with domestic wars ending and national stability, many schools closed. Martial arts inevitably shed its glory, becoming performance art and a sport. Perhaps this is why the book is titled The Lost Martial Arts World. Closing this book, we see the martial world was fundamentally combat-based, governed by protocols emphasizing master-disciple hierarchy. It valued sect camaraderie and abhorred betrayal. This is what the Lost Martial Arts World repeatedly emphasizes. Of course, as oral history from Li Zhongshuan's recollections, the book inevitably contains some exaggerated elements.
For example, the book mentions a master who could chase trains, and another who could knock down surrounding disciples just by walking around without using hands or feet.
We don't delve into such things. Instead, we take them as a window to understand traditional Chinese culture and the spirit of martial arts. All right, that concludes our interpretation of The Lost Martial Arts World. Notes are below the audio. See you next time.